Hey, hello, and welcome to the show. It's me, JP. It's time for this week's episode of JP's Product Pick of the Week. Thanks so much for stopping by, and by you, I mean all of the good people over in our Discord and in our YouTube chat. Hello to you. Hey there, Dave, Odessa, Tackle the World, Irvine Cattle Ranch, OG Thinkster. Welcome to our YouTube chat. And if you are someone who is in a place where there seems to be no chat, if you're over in Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, LinkedIn Learning, all those places that we also broadcast, head on over to our Discord. It's right here. It's at adafruit.it/Discord. And then you want to look for our live broadcast chat channel, and it looks an awful lot like that right there. So I've got a really cool one here today, and before I talk about it, what I want to do is let you know that you can head to that URL right there and to that QR code, goes to the same place. You will find this week's product pick. You will also find this video embedded right in it, so you can click on the little window, watch it there if you like. If you want to buy this week's product pick at a deep, deep discount, I'm just refreshing my view of it over here. Yes, half off, 50% off on this week's product pick. It's a really great deal, and before I say any more about it, what I'll do is jump back just a little bit in time and have Lady Ada tell us all about it from her new product pick segment. So take it away, Lady Ada.
Next up, finally back in stock. That we had this as a coming soon because we got the PCBs and then we didn't realize the PCBs had some silkscreen deleted, so we reordered the PCBs. Now they're back. It's the RP2040 DVI Feather. This would have been
shout out to Toddbot, who's been doing some cool stuff with this too. Yeah.
So what is this? It's an RP2040 Feather. It's got the RP2040 chip, 8 megabytes of flash, STEMMA QT, battery charging, all the Feather pins, I2C and analog and SPI, and on the end, pretty cool, is a full-sized HDMI connector that has DVI output. It doesn't do audio, it doesn't do Ethernet, it just does video. Yeah. But if you want to experiment with generating video from modern devices, this does actually work. And when we test it on our tester, we plug it into an HDMI monitor to make sure that the DVI signal is read by it. We only have support right now for Arduino. We might have support for CircuitPython at some point, but right now it's just Arduino. But Phil B, Pit Your Dragon, wrote an awesome Pico DVI library. And you can see it just acts like Adafruit GFX. So if you've ever used any of our TFTs or OLEDs and you've used Adafruit GFX as the underlying library, it's the same. There's fonts, there's text, there's colors, there's graphics, there's rectangles, squares, lines, characters, all that good stuff, all the basis that you need to do graphics and drawing. And as far as the Feather is concerned, it's basically connected to a 320 by 240 screen, and that 320 by 240 is pixel doubled to 640 by 480. So the pixels are a little chunky, but HDMI monitors, every monitor supports 640 by 480, so it's a universal supported monitor
we
display.
all have these dead monoliths hanging on our walls that have nothing on them, and we don't want to put something on it because it's like internet connected and a bunch of nonsense, and it's terrible. You can turn it into art that you make yourself. This is like one of the cool things, and check out the demo that Todd's doing, and Toddbot says, I can verify, the DVI RP2040 Feather is pretty rad. We were going to call this Feathercast, but then it would be a little confusing.
Yeah.
We're not doing it.
So you can also use it with the Pico SDK. They have a lot of examples. The code that we have for Arduino basically creates a frame buffer. So you draw to it as like a frame buffer, and then it outputs that frame buffer immediately. If you want to have higher resolutions, I think Pico SDK can dynamically generate the signals faster, but then you have to kind of be smart about drawing each scan line as it comes out. I kind of recommend going with the Arduino library because it's simple. You don't have to try to race the H-Sync and V-Sync. You just draw it and it outputs in the background on the secondary core. But the trade-off is it uses a massive amount of resources. It uses, I think, both PIOs, or maybe it uses at least one PIO. And it uses 150 kilobytes of RAM for 320 by 240 because it has to buffer the entire 16-bit color array. And it uses one full core. So you can't do this and a whole bunch of other stuff, but you can read sensor data, you can do video synth, you can write little games that run on it, as long as you're okay with not having access to both PIOs and you're okay with losing access to one core, and you don't need, you only need like 30% of the RAM that's available.
Hey, yes, look, that's right, that's it right there. That is my product pick of the week this week. It is the Feather RP2040 with DVI for HDMI video output. Look at it. Just look at it right there. There's too many of me. That is one of our new feathers that has the feather part of the feather scrunched up to one end, that end actually, towards the USB controller or port, and that gives us some space to put something else on the end. So in this case, it is an HDMI port that can be used to send DVI video out to your HDMI or DVI monitor. So, couple things. First of all, head to that URL to go pick one up because look at it. It's half price. It's $7.48. That is just bonkers how cheap that is. It is the regular, old, beloved Feather RP2040 with all of the same pins, plus some. It has the LiPo battery charger built in. It has USB-C. And it has 8 megabytes of flash. It is the RP2040, so we have the dual M0 cores on the chip itself, as well as the 2 PIOs that can be used for all sorts of wild bit banging situations, such as being able to overclock this thing and send out DVI video, which is amazing. Now you can use Arduino to code this, and then you get to use the Adafruit GFX to do frame buffers to send up to video. You can also use the Pico SDK, and since that video was shot where Lady Ada said we don't have CircuitPython support, that changed because we do now have CircuitPython support. In fact, I'll show you the first demo of a few that I want to show you is just running right here. This is a HDMI DVI monitor, and right there, hanging off of it, is a little Feather RP2040 DVI. It is running CircuitPython code. This is a really lovely demo that Todd Kurt created. You can go in at the chat and ask him about it. We also have links inside of our main guide for this board that will take you to some of the video synth experiments he's been doing. Actually, it might be in a different guide, but I'll show you the one. So this is running right in CircuitPython. In fact, let's take a look at the code for that one since I've got that up here, different view here. So don't worry about what's down here and blurry, but what you see behind me, this beautiful demo, that's the code for it right there. So really, really streamlined and simple. We're importing a couple of libraries, including Display I/O and Vector I/O, and the board library. The board library takes care of using the HDMI or DVI output as a display. Then there's some typical Display I/O hierarchies being set up, a couple of palettes for the colors that are being used, and then this is a little drawing function that creates these little symbols on here. And in the main loop, this is just randomizing where those are and sending them up to the display. So really, really similar to any of the Display I/O stuff you've done before in CircuitPython, except now you can throw that up on pretty much any HDMI monitor. Let's see, another demo that I've got. I'll just go to this view as a large view right here. This is the one right behind me, and that in fact is the Feather I was showing you at the beginning. So no tricks up my sleeve. What I'll do is connect this up to this little display. I'll go ahead and turn that on, and I'm going to give power over USB-C to that little Feather. And once this boots up, this monitor is slow to start actually, you will see one of the screensaver demos that Phil B created. This is the Max Headroom one that I was able to do a fun photo shoot for. This is real-time graphics, these lines that are rotating around back here, and these are sprites. So this is sprites being essentially alpha channeled or transparency matted out in front of a second background. That is done in Arduino, and we have a bunch of different screensavers that you can check out that'll run on the Feather RP2040 DVI. And then this last one I wanted to show you here, I'm going to refocus this down shooter. check for nice sharpness. There we go. So excuse some reflections on the screen here, but I've got a little tiny baby HDMI monitor. I have my Feather RP2040 plugged out with our little DIY flex ribbon cable type of HDMI connection. And then I have a little slider board that I made using some Cutie Pie and some little stemma or seesaw sliders. And so you can see here, this is also a variation on some ToddBot video synth demos. I've got sliders to control things like the size and horizontal position of a triangle. As I move it, it's doing a nice little sort of fade effect. And I can also change the colors on that and set it rotating with a, let me set that to a nice slow speed. Oh yeah, look at that. Let's get that just right. Oh, beautiful. So this is a really fun demo. This one happens to use MIDI to control these, but you could use potentiometers or other inputs directly over GPIO. This was just a convenient way to do it without me soldering anything to it. I'm using a little USB host gizmo off to the side so that I can connect that up to a USB MIDI device here. And this is also in Arduino, and this is code that you can check out right here. So I've been promising to show you some Learn Guides. So first of all, here's the main page for this. $7.48 for this. I think we had 100 stashed. These may sell through. So in case you're new to this show, there's no coupon code. You just want to throw these in your cart and buy up to 10 of them. That's the maximum per customer. No resellers allowed. But you don't need a coupon code. It's just the price is going to be this 50% off just for the duration of the show. So after the live stream, that goes back up to the regular price of $14.95. Still a pretty good deal, but at $7.48, it's a steal. So here is the main guide. You can see here's some other really gorgeous looking screensavers going on here. This will tell you how to get it set up using Arduino, and then there are some nice examples here that Phil B put together of some different types of Hello Worlds. 16-bit, 8-bit, single buffer, double buffer, 1-bit, single buffer, double buffer, 1-bit text. You can go to higher resolutions at black and white, or you can use some smaller resolutions in grayscale. So I believe we can do a full 640, what is this one saying? 640-240 for a black and white type of image. And we usually do up to 320-240 for the color images, and then they're pixel doubled up to 640-480, which is something that HDMI monitors will recognize. The screensavers are this last item in the main guide. So you can see there's a bunch of great demos that Phil B put together, including something like the DVD logo, the famous DVD logo that never hits the corner exactly. There's flying toasters, if you remember all those great After Dark screensavers, as well as Aquarium. And then there's this TV host demo inspired by Max Headroom. And if you check these out, there's both UF2 code, so you can just flash the board without having to go through the Arduino firm IDE and the compiling process. Or you can go and actually edit the code to change things out if you want to change out some of the assets. Here's a famous Amiga 3D style Amiga cube. Using sprites, so that's not real-time 3D, by the way. And then there's another guide here that is from Liz Clark. This is the RP2040 DVI video synth. And so here you can see some really cool demos using a button and knob box that Liz created to control some video synth parameters. Here's coding it. This one's in Arduino, as well as building a little enclosure, wiring it, putting it together. Nice little laser cut acrylic face plate for it there. The use demos here will show you some really cool examples, some nice GIFs that she put together actually, so you can see these in effect. Wavy Lines demo. And then the last link in there says more synth creations, and here are some really nice, it's a link to some really nice examples of video synth stuff that ToddBot has been doing, including ones that react to MIDI notes being played. So that's that one right there. If you go there and click that video, you'll have a real treat. So those are just some of the things that you can do with it. And Unlike something like a Raspberry Pi, which a lot of people who want to do little video loops and things sometimes turn to the Raspberry Pi, this is available, unlike at the moment at least the Raspberry Pi, and this is really dead simple. All it wants to do is boot up and run. You can see right here, in fact, if I pull the power from this one, watch how quickly this boots and runs. Half of that delay, I think, was that monitor. Actually, watch it on this one. That monitor's just slow. So watch this one. Power off, power on. 1 Mississippi, 2. Couple seconds, and that's up and running again. So you don't have to worry about powering it down like you would with a Raspberry Pi. So obviously, there are differences. You don't have anywhere near the type of memory. You're not going to store giant videos on here. But for certain types of graphics, demo scene style stuff, sprite animation things, this is a really terrific board for those types of projects, as well as just experimentation with video. So let's see, what have I forgotten? Anything? Here's some nice photos of it there. This is using Penguin, so we have some lovely silkscreen graphics on it. Also, some features that are there that I have not touched yet. We have some pins broken out for doing hot plug detection, so it knows when it's plugged into an HDMI monitor. I believe there's an exchange back and forth. And the EDID, which can give you info. So if your code wants to query the monitor to find out things about its available resolutions and frame rates and things like that, I believe that's the data you can get off of these little pins down near, you'll see there's a couple pins, extra pins broken out down near the HDMI connector. Let me pull this one right here and show you on the overhead close up. So right here you'll see there's this HDP, that's the detection of hot plug detection, HPD. And then I believe it's these U and C pins that can be used to query information from the monitor. So let's see, any thoughts or questions over in our chats? Tackle the World says full-size HDMI. Yeah, so that is 640/480 on there, and I can't remember if I can get it to show me. Yeah, it's showing me 640/480, 60 hertz is what it's saying there on that monitor. So it's kind of the lowest of the low. I don't know if HDMI will accept a signal smaller than that. And that is pixel doubled, so it's not. It's actually 320, 240 pixels that are being thrown up there, and then like a nearest neighbor type of algorithm is just doubling those out, so you get the space filled properly. Let's see, what else? Other questions? So how feasible would this be to use as a display for displaying levels, flows, pressure? Yeah, so you can, and I didn't demo this, but you can use this as a monitor for a CircuitPython device, which is pretty wild. In fact, let's do that real quick. What I'll do, if I can, is I'm going to steal this one here, I think. Oh, you know what? I've got a long cable. Let's see if this works. See if I can. I'm going to take the USB cable that's running to that, and I will unplug a USB cable that's going into my computer. Okay, so this should run that same demo. There you saw it loading up, and before I just had it into power, so it wasn't trying to connect, but now I have it plugged into a computer. So if I go over here to my Sublime window, let's see, this should work like that. Okay, yeah, again, ignore what's below there. But the monitor behind me, if I come into my coding window and open up a terminal, and Disco Tool feather. Hopefully that's the only feather on the system here. Yeah, there we go. So you can see now my REPL is showing up over HDMI. Sorry, you're not seeing all of it. Maybe I can, whoa, maybe I can destroy everything as I try to swing this monitor out in front a bit. There we go. Hopefully I'm not blocking too much of it now. I'll bring my There we go, over the side. So you can see here, if we go and import a library, import board, and look at the board. I don't need to look at my computer monitor here. I can look right there, which is kind of cool. So this could be used as a real-time display for your projects. And in fact, I think, if I'm remembering right, DJ Devon 3, yeah, so there's a link over in our Discord. DJ Devon 3 has been using this to do some real-time weather display overlays and things like that. So the fact that you can look at real-time data up here, even look at the board itself and the REPL on there is pretty wild. So I think that is gonna do it. Let me know if you got any other questions. Yeah, someone asked about the connector. It is a full-size HDMI connector. So let's see. I just set one over here somewhere. Yeah. So this is a weird little flat cable that I happen to have, but that size of your thumb, normal TV on both sides. It's not a little mini one like you see on the Raspberry Pi Zeros. It's a full size, which is nice. All right, and I think it's not a real workbench unless you're in danger of hanging yourself on cables. You're absolutely right. There's also one dangerously above my head here, HDMI. Okay, let's wrap this up. So don't forget, you can head over here to the main page, pick up some of these. Let's see, are they still in stock? They are, so go grab some of those, throw them in your cart. You can get some other stuff along the way if you want. Maybe pick up some HDMI cables, maybe a cool, cute HDMI monitor if you need. And this discount will apply just during the show, no coupon code needed. Head there and get yourself a Feather. And that is, I think, going to wrap it up for us today. So that right there is my product pick of the week this week. It is the Feather RP2040 DVI with HDMI video output. Thanks, everyone, for stopping by. For Adafruit Industries, I'm John Park. This has been JP's product pick of the week. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.